So let's say we have a rectangle here and we want to know the total distance around that rectangle, and we also want to know the area of the rectangle, how much space it's taking up. Well, the total distance around would be, let's call this long one the length, so that's a cursive L there, and the short one the width. So the total distance around would be this length plus the width plus another length plus another width. And so there would be two lengths, 2 times L, right? Because there's two lengths. And there would also be two W's, and we would add those together. That would give us the total perimeter all the way around that. If you were walking right along here, walking all the way around the perimeter of that rectangle, you would do two lengths, two widths, and you could write that out like this. So this equals the perimeter of a rectangle. So capital P for perimeter. Now this whole thing right here we call a formula. This is the formula for the perimeter of a rectangle. A formula is kind of like a recipe. So I like to say recipe. It's a recipe for something. This is the recipe for the perimeter. The perimeter is a distance around, and the ingredients of this recipe were the length and the width. 2 cups of length and 2 cups of width. Alright, so let's say we want to find the area of a rectangle. Well, to find the area of any rectangular or square shape, you need to multiply the length by the width. That's just the formula for it. So area of a rectangle is, remember equal sign, you can use the word is. So area is length times width, and in math we can just put the variable, or you can slide them right next to each other, and that means multiplication in between there. So length times the width will give you the area. So an example of that, if the length was 3 inches and the width was 1 inch, length times width, I would plug my 3 in there, my 1 in here. 3 times 1 is 3. So the area of that particular rectangle would be 3 inches, and your units for area is squared. So this means square inches. Rather than just a distance like that, how long is this? We're not talking about just a distance, not just 3 inches. It's 3 square inches. So that's the difference. Okay, so what about with an actual square? See if I can make a square here. Well, in a square, we've got the length here, we've got the width here. But if this is a square, and I'm going to use some geometry marks here, if it's a square, isn't this length, let's say if this was 5, what would the width be? Well, it would also be 5, right? Because a square means that all the sides are the same length. That's why I have these geometry marks there. So instead, we like to use, instead of length and width, in math, pretend this is a square here, we like to use side and side for a square. So S and S, you can use the same variable because it's the same measurement. So what would the perimeter of a square be? What would the recipe be for that, or the formula? Well, you'd have to do 1 side, 2 sides, 3 side, 4 side. So the perimeter of a square would be side times 4, 4s. You don't write side times 4, you don't do it like that. You do it like this, 4s. That would be the perimeter, the distance around. And the area, again, is the one side, like the horizontal axis, times the vertical axis. So s times s. Now watch what happens here. S times s is actually the same as s squared, isn't it? So the area of a square, the formula for that, or the recipe for that, is s squared. So in our case, the perimeter here, the perimeter of this rectangle would be 4 times 5. I'm going to take that 5 and plug it in there. 4 times 5 gives us 20, we'll say, centimeters. The area of this rectangle would be 5 squared, or 5 times 5, which is 25 centimeters squared, square centimeters. So that looks like this. Here's all my little square centimeters, and there would be 25 of them in there. And sometimes you might be asked to work backwards with some of these. So if the area, let me undo that. The area of this is 81, okay? Let's say the area is 81 square meters. This is a huge, like, out in the field type thing. 81 square meters. And they ask you, what is the side length? Well, you've got to think to yourself, what's the formula for area of a square? It's area equals s squared. So write your formula, and then I know that the 81 is the a. So now put in the information you know. So I know 81 is a. So now 81 equals s squared. And now you can ask yourself right here, what number times itself, because remember this is s times s, what number times itself gives us 81? Ooh, I think I know. It's 9, isn't it? So the side length would be 9 meters. That length is 9 not 9 square meters. This is just singular dimension right here. 9 meters. So, the way to, and you'll learn later that you can find the square root of 81, and that is 9. Square root is the opposite of squaring something like that. So anyway, that's for later down the line. So that is your introduction to formulas. You just got the formula for perimeter of a square, area of a square, perimeter of a rectangle, and area of a rectangle. Have fun with that.